Hello everybody, this is Refresh, and I'm here to tell you about my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pre-release. This was for Magic the Gathering, and as you can see, it is one of those Universes Beyond pre-releases. The kit here is what you get, and it says Give 'em Shell on the side, as well as some artwork from some, I guess, composite of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's not really easy to tell which iteration of TMNT this is, and as you look through the cards, it seems to be taken from all over TMNT as it was. I had a lot of trepidation about this particular set, and my concerns with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were because the set very much resembles Spider-Man. It is a small set, there are not as many cards in it. It is a New York set as well, and so there's some concern that the cards may end up being boring stuff like hot dog carts, for example, and it won't really feel like it's appropriate to the theme of Magic the Gathering, which is casting spells. Now, obviously there are things happening in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that are fantastical in some sense, with the science fiction mutagen that changes animals into humanoids and all that, but I was also concerned that the size of the set would lead to uninteresting play. For sealed, I don't know if that turns out to be true per se. As usual for pre-releases, this is a pretty bare bones affair. You get the pre-release kit and a tournament, and that's it. Nothing else to really help you feel like this is a event that immerses you in the world of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, this is a property that has been going on for a long time. I think that there are still shows and movies and games about it, and my main interaction with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles goes back to the 80s when I was a kid, and primarily the video games and the television show were my main points of interaction. I did have some turtle toys as well. I was a big Leonardo fan back in the day. As you can see from inside of the pre-release kit, you have some artwork featuring Splinter and the Turtles going at it, some themed tokens and counters. Inside is the deck box with more different kinds of graffiti. All of the dice are going to be green this time, with different colors to represent the colors of magic. So in this case we have blue with a turtle on one side and the planeswalker on the one. This is kind of confusing because some of these planeswalker symbols are 20s for other dice, so that's less than ideal, but these are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle green, so that's great for fans of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You get a pre-release primer, the usual thing that tells you how to build a deck. Then on the other side is just an ad for all the stuff that you can get for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think I'm going to get the Turtles team up, and I'll probably just stop there, but maybe I'll get a Commander deck as well. You get one promo, which is random, and as with Lorem Eclipse, you're no longer getting a specific symbol to note that is promo. This is just a foil card. Mine was a Turtle Power. You get one card divider, which matches the art of the set with Shredder and the Turtles. Then you get 6 packs of Magic, which I will spread out and show you everything that I opened. So this is everything that I opened, and I was immediately drawn to the double turtle powers that I had as anthems for my turtles. Looking around, I realized that most of my turtles were in green, with the 3 Michelangelos. Then we had 2 Raphs in red. We have the Leo and Lita in white, the 2 Metalheads in blue, and the multicolor Mikey and Leo in white and green. And taking stock of that, I felt like to get enough turtles, I would have to play 4 colors minus black, and I just didn't feel like I had the fixing to pull that off, even with 2 Escape Tunnels and a Dimension X. And so I put that aside, and I removed the idea of focusing just on turtles, and then started to look at what my other options could be. Looking at black, I had the most of those cards. I also had multiple removal spells in black, and while there were a pretty decent quality of cards, I didn't feel that it played really well with the other cards that I had going on. On the other hand, red and blue had a pretty decent artifact theme amongst it. We had 2 Does machines as a way to start making all my artifacts into creatures and then powering them up and smashing with them. And we had a pair of Baxter Stockmans over on the multicolor pile, as well as mechanized cavalry and some artifacts in general that you'd want to put into decks like the Turtle Van. And then the big shiny foil Krang as a giant artifact that you could potentially get to, especially with cards like the Purple Dragon Punks acting as ramp for artifacts. But I found that the pool was too shallow when you put red and blue together. You'd have to play a number of non-artifact cards, and red I think was the most problematic in that regard because it was really split between multiple different types of game plans, and I felt like it wasn't quite enough to justify playing artifacts. And then the last idea that really hit me as I was looking through my cards was that white and green both had a lot of cards that cared about counters, that either gave counters or put counters on their own creatures, or created mutagen which you could use to generate counters. You had Mikey and Leo in Chaos and Order. You had Agent Bishop as a very strong counter dropper, and Michelangelo Weirdness to 11 to add an additional counter every time you put a counter down. And that was enough for me to take a look at the color pair and maybe consider playing that. Maybe splashing something into red like with Dimension X, so I also considered, putting the Raphaels in there as well. And that is the deck that I will show you next. So this is the final deck. I put in pretty much everything that had to do with counters or creating mutagen in color. And then I wanted to find a few things that would trigger the two Michelangelo Game Masters, so I made sure that there were some mutagens around. The double Turtle Vans should also increase the counters, and you have Agent Bishop Man in Black and Mighty Mutamals all adding counters, Michelangelo boosting the counters, Mikey and Leo drawing cards from the counters. And then I noticed that I had enough ramp in the deck between the New Generations Technique, the Frog Butler, and the Mona Lisa that I might as well try Krang Utrom Warlord, even though I felt like it was probably too high of a cost to play, even with several ramp cards in the deck. Then there's some removal with Grounded for Life and Uneasy Alliance, and the deck could have been lower on lands because it primarily exists in the 1-4 mana spot. But because I had Krang that I had to eventually pay to, I kept to 17 lands with 8 planes and 7 forests. And that is the deck. There's lots of synergy here, so I was hoping that that would work out to my favor. So I sleeved up my deck and I took it into the games, except that my first match was a bye. I was the 11th player and did not get a matchup, and so I spent an hour hanging out and waiting for the second round. And in my second round, I was paired up against a player playing a blue-green deck, and they won the dice roll and went first. And at first, we were relatively evenly matched, but my opponent got a pretty strong lead after blowing up my artifacts with a Leatherhead. And then eventually I was able to stabilize once I played Krang, and the fact that he was indestructible and made all my other creatures indestructible nullified my opponent's capacity to defeat me because of Krang's huge body. And so we were just left top decking. I couldn't really attack because my life total was so low, but I eventually managed to draw into my counters engine and then was able to swing with my flying indestructible trampling haste team for the win. In the second match, we were again somewhat evenly matched, and I let my opponent swing in with his Leatherhead a few times to really take my life total down. But the whole point of that was because I was trying to build my board out and not lose my combo pieces for my counters. And eventually I was able to stabilize with Mikey and Leo drawing me cards and putting a whole bunch of counters on a lot of my creatures. And that pretty much got me where I needed to go. And putting a whole bunch of counters on my increasing squad, and my opponent also stumbled a little bit on mana, not being able to draw their blue mana for a while, and so that was able to slow them down enough that I was able to play out my combos, and once I was able to stabilize, I was able to take the game from there and win, putting me up at 2-0 with some pretty dramatic turns in both of the games. And then I was paired up against a white and red player, and in the first match I just got my combo engine going with the counters really fast and had some enormous creatures, including a 15 power EPF point squad, and so it was really hard for my opponent to get out of that. They did do some sweet recurrence with the Mythic Leo, getting back one or less power or toughness creatures from their graveyard to stall my attacks quite a bit, and chumping and biting me in through the air. But eventually the counters falling down on a very wide and growing board made it impossible for my opponent to. In the second match, we started off fairly even, with my opponent gaining a bit of life at the start, but eventually the counters again fell down and my opponent couldn't hold the skies, and so I managed to give my creatures flying and smashing there for the win. And that was my matches, going 2-0 with 0 losses and winning the bye as well, which I would have rather had played, but you know, I felt like the deck synergy was definitely its strongest point, with a lot of strong cards that actually work well together, including several bombs. The Turtle Vans were strong, the Agent Bishop was a powerhouse, and eventually having all that ramp that got me to cast Krang more than once was also a way that just got me to win without too much trouble. And so that was a commanding performance for a very lucky sealed pool. That was my games of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So how do I feel about the set? Well, like Spider-Man, the feeling of being in New York didn't really suit my taste when it came to playing Magic. I don't feel like I'm casting spells, and that's what I'm doing mechanically, and so I found that to be a little incongruent with the theme. But I like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so it kind of balanced out in that regard. And fortunately, at least I didn't see a number of really thematically uninteresting cards like the City Pigeons, and we had pizza, yes, but the pizzas were specific to the turtles and they were very unusual combinations, and so that wasn't enough to give me as bad of a feeling as I did with Spider-Man. The fact that it's a small set was obvious even from opening 6-packs, because I got a lot more duplicates than usual, and so that does make me wonder if the set is going to be a little bit tiresome to play in Limited. You'll kind of have seen all the cards pretty quickly, and so I'm not sure how long I'm going to play Limited with it if I play it on Arena, but I'll at least go through every variant of the Limited formats of the main set. Then if I feel compelled to play more, I will. If not, I'll probably take a break from Arena if that's the case, and then focus more on paper content for a little while. I still have to put out another video for Lore and Eclipse even, so there's still things that I'm working on. As for the pre-release experience, this is the bare bones experience that we've been getting for a while now, and so I don't know if I can say that I'm disappointed really, because this is kind of what we're getting, but I feel like if you're going to spend the extra money for a Universes Beyond pre-release, you should get some kind of experience that helps you feel like I'm in the world of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles beyond just the cards. And we still don't have that, at least not in the pre-release. I am looking forward to trying the co-op game that will be released alongside this, so maybe someday in the future I will get around to that too. For playing in Emerald Knights, you always get 2 packs as long as you complete your game, so I got 2 packs of these play boosters at Emerald Knights, and then they also threw in 3 promo packs for Bloombro, Duskborn, and Duskborn. They said that there were some goofs in the previous set, and so these were like conciliatory thank yous, I guess, for playing. And I haven't opened these. I'm going to save up all these and do some gigantic promo pack opening in the future. But that's kind of nice that at least they were able to throw in a few extra promos. And so that makes this experience feel a little bit better in addition to the 2 packs that you got. But that's going to be it for me. If you found this video enjoyable, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of my videos, you can hit subscribe. This is Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.